You're listening to Engage, the podcast for Delta pilots.
Today's guests, bidding gurus and chairman and vice chairman, PBS Committee, Mike Cowan and Scott Ryan. Here's your host, Ryan Argenta.
We're here with the PBS Committee, the chairman, the vice chairman. I'm with Mike Cowan and Scott Ryan. Fellas, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having us. I appreciate it.
You bet. The title of this podcast is Bid What You Want, Get What You Want. I see a multi-part series, some strategy, some bidding tips to learn a little bit more about PBS. I think we get a briefing during INDOC when you've got 59 other things going on. And so this will be a great review for those who are new to PBS and those who are old to PBS. Kicking it off in this episode, kind of an introduction, how the PBS Committee can help you. And then you do have a very important announcement about the sunset of the web UI, the transition to the web app. That sounds frightening and scary, but you've distilled it down to an easy to understand manner. Mike, why don't you kick it off?
Thank you for having us. Well, let's say your first part there about what the PBS Committee does, really three main things we do. The first is helping pilots with their bid each month. And that's both during the bid window, whether they need a password reset or they're having trouble using the software, they want to know how to do a certain bid. We help pilots with that. We have a volunteer on duty throughout the entire bid window every month. And then post-bid, we answer a lot of questions on, why did my bid not turn out the way I wanted it to? Why did PBS do this? So that's the primaries, customer service, pre-bid and post-bid, directly helping pilots with their bids, trying to get their bids better every month. So like you said, bid what you want, get what you want. And then the second part's education. So we produce the PBS reference handbook, which is available through our help website or on AeroDocs on your EFB, as well as PBS Notepad. So anytime a new version of the software comes out, or if we want to tackle a topic that we find pilots have a lot of questions on, we'll produce a PBS Notepad. We have one right now on deck that talks about unblockable, unbuildable schedules, which are some cases where PBS has trouble building a line or building a reserve line. And we also do live help, and I'll talk more about that with the web UI shutdown, that we're going to have some live online WebExes where pilots can dial in on their computer and get live help, where we can share our screen with the pilot and walk through their bid visually instead of just doing it on the phone or email. And the final piece of what we do is helping with the software. So we directly work with Delta and with NAVBLUE, that's the software provider for the web app, to both give them input on what we want to see in the software and also QCing that software. So every time a new release comes out, we actually do user acceptance testing to run through each thing that is changed in there to make sure that it works. And we provide that input back to NAVBLUE. So that's a big part of what we do, is just trying to constantly improve the bidding software. And that includes adding new features, which is admittedly a very slow process, but something we do as well.
That's a wide swath. So you really are the one-stop customer service shop provided by ALPA to help us with bidding, which, again, bidding is using our seniority, using that currency that we have to get the schedules, the quality of life that we want. Again, we're in the summer, we're into a high operations tempo. People want time off. They want quality of life. So bidding is obviously a big part of that, and you guys help out. You mentioned the live help through your WebExes. I want to point out that the PBS reference handbook is fantastic, because I think the software can be pretty confusing for pilots, right? Especially those who don't have a deep understanding of it. So I'll give a plug to the PBS reference handbook as well. And then when you call for that PBS assistance, like I call the main number and I say PBS bid assistance and somebody answers the phone, who am I talking to?
You are talking to a Delta pilot. That is an additional duty they do. Delta pays them to be on duty answering the phone. And they've all got a lot of experience working with PBS. Two of them are on the PBS committee as well, so they do both. Most months, if not every month, they'll do the bid assist, the 8th through the 11th, but then they also may be on duty other times during the month for ALPA, answering emails that we get through the PBS bid inquiry.
Okay, let's review that. So tell me again, they are on call or they're available by phone for PBS bid assistance during the bid window between the 8th and the 11th of the month, right? And as we all know, or we should know, the window generally closes at 1800 Eastern on the 11th.
Correct. But again, I would point pilots to the PBS reference handbook and search for the bid assist in the document, and it'll take them right to the instructions for how to call that. And then we are available through a bid inquiry. We're available the entire bid window.
And what's the best way to submit that? Is that through the Ace for Unions app?
No, we don't use the Ace for Unions app for PBS. We use a PBS bid inquiry. If you go to the crew resources and scheduling page on DeltaNet, on the left side, about halfway down, there's a PBS section, and there's a link for PBS bid inquiry. That goes to both our committee and the company. And the reason we keep it simple and we want pilots to submit a PBS bid inquiry is if you have a question after the bid results come out and you think there is an error with your schedule, per the contract, you have 6 days to report that to the company. If you think there's been a bid award error, that PBS bid inquiry satisfies that contractual requirement to notify the company. And so that is the one-stop shop.
Okay, I'm trying to bid this. I'm trying to bid a particular feature that I haven't used and I'm confused on it. The PBS reference handbook would probably be the first place to go. And then as a backup, you call those guys and say, I need your assistance.
And I'm a huge advocate when I talk to pilots that I firmly believe that if you bid well, you do get a bump in seniority.
Tell me about the transition to this web app. What do pilots need to know? How do we know that we're literally on the right page and that our bids are going to be accepted?
So the transition is going to occur with the September bid period, which starts actually with the CQ bid window on July 25th at 1800. So when the CQ bid window for September opens on July 25th, if a pilot clicks on the link to go to the web UI, the old interface, it's going to automatically direct them to the web app. We talked about the crew resources scheduling page. There's a link there and it will only go to the web app. So there'll only be one place for pilots to go. So if they have saved the link to the web UI and they go click on that on July 25th at 1800 to go do their CQ bids, it's going to automatically take them to the web app.
So you're automatically rerouted.
You're automatically going to be rerouted.
Okay, so there's no jeopardy of screwing this up.
They won't be able to access it starting on that date.
Okay, thanks for making that easy.
So, and we're going to update links everywhere too.
Okay, you're going to put out the info, not much to freak out about.
Yes, it's a different interface, and it does take a little bit of adjustment to use the new interface.
Pilots don't like change, guys.
They do not. And Scott and I and the entire committee have advocated to pilots is sooner is better than later. I would ask that you please at least log into the web app and look at it. Start to get comfortable with it before the switch is flipped on July 25th.
Username, passwords all remain the same?
Correct.
One issue we think might come up is a lot of pilots who have only used the web UI and the PBS password never changes. So they may have put in a password years ago as a new hire, for example, and if it's saved on their device, then when they go to the web app, it's not going to be preloaded with their password. And if they don't have an email set up with PBS to reset it, then they're going to have to either call the 800 number to get it reset or send us a bid inquiry to get it reset.
That's a great point.
Step one is log in.
Yeah, make sure you can log into it. Pilot can click on the link on their computer and pull up a WebEx where they can visually see our screen that we can share. And we'll be there to walk them through using the web app or answer any questions pilots have. Again, it'll be 2 to 3 chunks during the day, probably a couple hours each. That's July 27th through July 29th when the web UI goes away for that CQ bid window for September. And then for the entire normal September bid window, August 5th through the August 11th, every day, we plan on having a volunteer of the PBS committee with 3 WebExes a day for live assistance.
Awesome. And when you say WebEx, that's just a forum that you can log into. You click the link and you are now live chatting with a PBS committee member.
Yes, it will be a video chat with a PBS commander so we can visually show them how to do it. Vice just talk on the phone, which is the benefit of doing a WebEx.
Yeah, that's a great service. Thanks for doing that. Speaking of walking pilots through, what do you want pilots to know about bidding? If you had the ear of 14,000 pilots.
The number one thing we see month to month is being too restrictive with PBS. So pilots will build a bid, and it's okay to be specific, and you should be specific with what I want. Pilots seem to run into the most trouble is what are called conditional bids. And a conditional bid is, I want this day off, else start next bid group. And anytime you have those else start next, and you have too many of them, then PBS jumps to the next bid group. So we will often see where a pilot has built 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bid groups that are all different by one little thing, using conditionals to jump between bid groups, when really they could probably compact that down to one bid group. And it's just a lot of complexity. So the KISS principle is what I like to advocate. Keep it simple. I start, here are the days off I want, because that is the most important thing to most pilots. Here are the days off I want. I have a few avoids for stuff that I really don't like. And then I have a lot of award statements to ask for the trips that are best for me, down to the trips that are not the best for me. And I just keep it simple. Probably the number one bid feature that causes problems for pilots is clear schedule start next bid. Clear schedule start next means PBS has to do exactly what you've asked it to, or it fails and goes to the next bid group. So if you don't know exactly why you're using it, it will fail. Be very cautious of using conditional statements, whether it's an L start next or a clear schedule start next, unless you know exactly why you're using it and you're using it for a good reason. There are a lot of individual topics that I think the future podcast will be geared towards getting into some more technical bidding techniques on different issues.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun with that. We'll have the PBS reference handbook linked to the podcast. You can actually click the link, have it next to you, or you can print it out if you want, if you're old school. And we'll step through some examples. I think that's going to be a great resource for pilots. Let's take a break here. I'm with Mike Cowan and Scott Ryan. Back in 30 seconds. Stay with us.
Work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard. On diamonds all in my ring.
Engage Podcast wants to hear from you. Send us your questions through the MEC DART system at dart.alpa.org. You have questions, we want answers. You're listening to Engage, the podcast for Delta pilots.
If I'm in the club, I get 100 stacks. I'm always rolling up, so I get love for that. I heard he stole my swag, but I don't want it back.
What are your favorite features? What do you like to do? Scott perked up here. Give me some trickery.
Well, one of the things I see a lot of guys do is ask for too many days off, and they don't even let PBS have enough days to build them a schedule, right? You're only going to get about 515 a day. So if you ask for every day off, obviously it can't build you a schedule. We have lots of new hires, and I see plenty of them asking for prefer off weekends. Well, that's a pretty powerful bid line because it eliminates so many trips from the bid package. So I always recommend when you ask for your days off, just open up the calendar in PBS and you could just click in the order of importance on what days you want off. If you want every weekend off, then click on Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. But if you just say prefer off weekends, I don't think PBS handles that very well. First of all, because if it can't give you Saturday and Sunday off, it'll make you work the whole weekend. So it's much better to pick prefer offs, in my opinion, individually. And they make it really easy in the web app using the calendar icon, because you can just click on each day up to every day of the month.
Good tip. And speaking of prefer off, as you click through the calendar of the days you want off in order of priority, right? I want July 4th, then I want the 5th and 6th, but then I also need July 24th off. PBS goes through from a left to right format in priority. So can I get the 4th off? Yes. The 5th, 6th, so on and so on. And as it becomes less available, the days that I click last that are to the farthest right are the days that it considers least. Is that accurate?
That's correct. So prefer offs are left to right priority. However, PBS is smart enough that even if it can't give you everything on the left side, it might give you one or two. So that's why we encourage guys to click on them in your order of priority. It'll give you as many as it can, but it definitely will prioritize them from left to right. You may get some at the far right of your screen that do get approved. It's not an all or nothing bid like a lot of the avoids are in PBS.
And that highlights, Ryan, a common misconception too. There are only 2 times that PBS goes left to right in a single line. And that is one of them, prefer off. The other is there's a bid option called award pairing number if departing on, where you can select pairings and the dates they depart on. And as long as that option is marked as ordered, which is an option when you're inputting it, those are the only 2 times. So oftentimes a pilot will email us and say, hey, they had an award line that said award pairing number 1234, comma, 2345, comma, and they list 8 or 9 pairing numbers on one line. And then they look and they go, hey, my first choice was pairing 1234, but that went to a junior pilot. Well, that line was not left to right. Most lines are not read left to right. It's only prefer off and award pairing if departing on. Those two bid options. Every other time, it's an all or nothing. So we'll see that too, where pilots will say, hey, avoid pairings if any red eye. Well, PBS might be able to build you a schedule with 3 trips with no red eyes, but it has to give you 1 trip with a red eye. And as soon as it gets to that point, when it's trying to build your schedule, that avoid red eye is gone. Because if it can't fully satisfy it, it gets rid of the entire line.
So theoretically, you could have had, like you said, 3 trips daytime, and it just needs to give you the 1 red eye. But now it's opened you up and you could end up with 4 red eyes.
Correct. Use avoid sparingly, or you can use them, then back them up. So if you say avoid red eyes, then you might have one line that says award 4-day trips, if not any leg red eye. And the next line is award 4-day trips. You're just telling PBS, give me as many 4 days without red eyes as possible. And then if I have to do a red eye, I'll take a trip with a red eye. That's a better way of bidding those types of situations.
Give it an out.
Give it an out. Yep.
You mentioned ordering the rotations departing on, and it says allow intervening.
So allow intervening is actually with a followed by, if you're doing a followed by command. And that is where you can chain awards together. So for example, some commuters will say, I want to do a 4-day followed by a 3-day. So I do 1 commute. One of the options is allow intervening with a followed by, and the other is a maximum time between pairings for that followed by. If you check the allow intervening and you say, I want a 4-day followed by a 3-day, allow intervening, it could give you a 4-day at the beginning of the bid period, followed by a 3-day at the end of the bid period with 2 weeks in between them.
Any activity could occur between.
Correct.
So for a commuter who's trying to use followed by to set up a set of commutable trips, you probably would not want to check allow intervening.
Some pilots will use that because they want 2 certain pairings or 4 certain pairings in their bid. So they'll chain together. You can chain up to 6 awards in a followed by. Key point there is a followed by has to be sequential. So you can't ask for a pairing followed by a pairing that occurs before it, which will sometimes trip pilots up. So it's got to be sequential. These subjects are all covered in the PBS reference handbook. Same thing with the award pairing if departing on. That's a very powerful tool as well to select several trips in a row that I want in priority order using that statement.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just jump in on one thing, is how many reserve days I'm going to get? And I want to make a plug for John Bell's excellent Excel spreadsheet, which is available on the PBS help page through DeltaNet. And you can put in your vacations, any training, and then it spits out at the bottom how many X days you're going to get, how many on-call days, how many short calls you may or may not get, and as well as your pay. So that's a great tool. A lot of pilots already use it, but for those that haven't seen it, it's a really great tool for those months you might do reserve.
Yeah, that thing is money. And he's got a ton of other gizmos on there too. You can also Google it, John Bell Delta. It'll come up, reserve calculator. What other nuggets do you guys want to put out?
Well, like we said, as far as getting help with your bids, we mentioned the PBS bid inquiry. That's the first one I'd want to plug. Tell us what you're trying to do and what you need help with. I would say anytime you're doing something new on your bid that you haven't done before, please ask us to take a look at it. The other is the PBS Help website. That's the PBS Help and Resources link on the crew resources and scheduling page of DeltaNet that takes you right there. That's got the PBS reference handbook. It's got all the PBS notepads that we put out. The reserve calculator is there. You also have the ALPA and then the PBS and scheduling folder, and Aerodocs under EFB has all those documents as well. So if you're commuting or deadheading or whatever and you want to read through that, and you can email us directly if all else fails at dalpbs@alpa.org. I would just ask that if you do that, please include at least your category and employee number. It makes it easy for us to go look you up real quick. And then the bid assist number is another great resource. So all of those are available to pilots. And the number one, I'll foot stomp it one more time, is please ask us before the bid window closes to look at your bid, because I would say about twice as many emails post-bid as pre-bid that we receive. After the fact, all I can tell you is what you messed up in your bid, right? Pre-bid, now you can fix it going forward, but oftentimes it's a situation you don't see on a month-to-month basis, and then it comes up and you don't know about it, you bid, and then you get caught unawares, and we would so much rather help pilots beforehand. Please ask us to look at it. That's what we're here for. We've always got someone on duty.
Yeah, and speaking of something that doesn't happen all the time, We get a lot of questions on shadow bidding, and there's a whole section in the PBS reference handbook. I've been through training 3 times in the last couple of years, and I can assure you there's money to be made in the shadow bid. It's one of the good deals in PBS, but there's a few gotchas. I would suggest anyone who's going through training and has especially if you have a longer shadow bid, to build a bid and send it to us as a bidding query and let us take a look at it and make sure you're bidding correctly.
So when you submit a bid inquiry, you're able to see that bid through your back channels, right? We don't need to take screenshots or upload anything to
Yeah,
you.
no, we can log in with your employee number. I can log in just as you and look at what your bid looks like. Yes.
Do you ever just mess with friends and go in and like totally mess up their bid?
I have not done that.
No, everything is logged. All that information is logged. So, and we make it a point, actually, even if you ask for us to fix your bid and submit, we will not do that for you. We'll keep a clean delineation there. The pilot has got to be the one who submits the bid. It's too easy to go work on your bid for you, and then after the fact you go, well, that's not what I wanted, and then we've got a whole issue there. So we try to keep that very clean.
And then what about a confirmation number?
You need to get a confirmation number every month. You want to see a confirmation number. You need a confirmation number. We need a confirmation number. Write it down or take a screenshot, either way. That confirmation number only shows up if your bid made it to the PBS server. That's where that number is generated. So it tells you that a round trip occurred. Your bid went to the server, recorded it, and the server sent back a confirmation number. The habit pattern that will save you is do not just close your browser when you're done. Hit log out. Click the log out button in the upper right-hand corner, because PBS will ask you, it will say, hey, your bid is modified and you haven't submitted it. Do you want me to submit your bid? So if you've only saved and not submitted, PBS will ask you before you log out, is that really what you want to do? If you just close the browser, you never get that message.
Awesome. And the way I remember that, the down arrow is you save it to you. The up arrow, you save it to
It goes up to the cloud.
And it's a good technique to click on submit throughout your bid, because if you get distracted and walk away, you've already submitted it. So I just routinely click on submit as I'm putting in my bid.
That's a good tip. Okay, let's review. As far as we need to know, you'll be redirected automatically to the new web app. Your username password will remain the same, but you have to remember what that was because it won't auto-populate. If somehow you get locked out or you have forgotten, you can either call the PBS assistance number or submit a PBS inquiry. Include your employee number and your category. That seems pretty straightforward. It was scary in the beginning, transition, changes, but seems pretty easy. You talked about colors. It's going to be more user-friendly, more colorful, more fun. There's like confetti.
If you're a nerd, it's fun. The web app is a newer technology. More can be done with it.
How about pilots who pay a service or pay somebody to bid for them? Any changes there?
Well, at the moment, no. I will say that we are working on going to single sign-on for PBS. So at some point in the near to mid future, you will use your DeltaNet password to log into PBS. So at that point, anybody using a bid service, in order to do that, would have to give their username and password for DeltaNet to a third party, which Delta obviously frowns upon. That's a little bid of a minefield, in my opinion, doing that. So I would be very cautious.
So maybe now's the time to start learning PBS.
Yeah, learning how to bid.
Scott, reattacks, you've got the floor.
A lot of pilots are not aware of. The other function we do is reviewing all the bid runs. From the 13th through the 17th every month, we've got 2 volunteers on duty that work with the company, and we review every category and approve it before they move on to the next category. The planners will execute the bid runs, then the PBS administrator will send us the run that the company wants to use for each category, and then we will look through it and make sure that it's compliant with the PWA. It's complying with MOU number 1 in the PWA, and that it's a balance between operational reliability and pilot quality of life. So we'll do that each month. I want to emphasize, when you look at your wide report on DeltaNet, that is a draft. Your schedule is not final until it's in iCrew, because sometimes we do identify problems after the draft has been posted, and we go back and rerun that category. And that process is valuable because it allows us to catch errors ahead of time and get categories rerun and review that everything is working the way it should. Everything's compliant.
Some months the bid awards are published pretty quickly, right? And other months it takes a little longer. Is that review process, or is that it was an quote easy month? Or
Yes, actually, If it's an easy month, it goes fast. It also depends on what day the bid window closed, because the planners don't work on Sunday. So the PBS administrator often will. He'll work on Sunday, but it's much slower when he's doing the bid runs by himself. If we're doing December, then it is much slower, because part of that review process we do is we look at unstacking. We look at reserve unstacking and we look at line unstacking and make sure that it worked properly, or as properly as it can, because it's extremely complicated. And that can take anywhere from, 30 minutes to an hour per category, sometimes for the hard ones during a holiday month. When it's a non-holiday month, there's very little unstacking.
Gotcha. That is complex, but
It is, yes, it's not easy. And I wish it was.
And we have 64 different categories. So the committee members have to approve 64 different bid runs. It's not the runtime of the computer doing the run. That takes a couple seconds. It's the planner has to set up each run and then review it and then send it to us to be reviewed.
so, hey guys and girls, give it a second, right? There's human involvement here, checking, rechecking. Okay, so patience from the pilots.
Yes, and you want that too. The pilots get a better result through the process. I think is an invaluable part of the process is being able to do that and work with the company to get a better result for everybody.
Got it. So bid what you want, get what you want, and give them a few minutes, a few days to make sure you got what you want.
Yes.
Great.
I'd just like to reemphasize what Mike said about sending in your bid inquiries before the bid window closes. We love helping pilots with their bids. That's what we're here for. We don't like doing password resets, but we will do them. But we would prefer to look at your bid and help you get a better schedule. Send us a bid inquiry before the bid window closes and we can improve your bid.
Awesome. That's a cool service. I never wanted to be a bother, but it's not a bother. It's a service, right?
That is what we're here for.
And you love computers.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
That helps, especially
We're a bunch of geeks on this committee here.
Yeah. One other thing, a great tool for each pilot is go look at your reasons report each month. And you can look at your reasons report in PBS, or it's called the composite when you look at it on DeltaNet, the composite report, where PBS tells you what worked and what didn't work on your bid. What I tell pilots when I'm flying with them is, especially when you're in a new category or as your seniority is going up, I look at other pilots' bid results too. So I usually go 10 up and 10 down. Look at the 20 pilots around you in the bid results, and you'll pick up stuff that works at your seniority or doesn't work at your seniority, and you'll pick up other bid techniques. That's a great way to get better at bidding every month.
That's a great tip. Let's leave it there. We've got more episodes with the PBS committee. They will be coming out soon. Can I spill the beans? We're going to do a PBS basics. This is for new hires. And if you've been here for 30 years and you're still trying to figure out how to bid in PBS and all the changes, this is for you. It's going to come out soon. Mike Cowan, Scott Ryan, PBS committee, thank you both for being here. Thanks for the work you do. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
This has been Engaged, the podcast for Delta pilots. Thanks for listening. My name is Ryan Argenta. Stay safe and keep the rubber on the road.
You're listening to Engage, the podcast for Delta pilots. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or your favorite podcast platform, and receive notifications when a new episode is available.